Please remind me to never ever knit a button band on 2.5mm needles ever again. Hello everyone, welcome back to another project vlog. So I am going to be working on a very exciting project and something that I have been thinking about since a few months ago when sadly I ripped a hole in my favourite cardigan. This is a vintage M&S cardigan that I just got off Vinted ages ago, and it's wool, and I accidentally put it in the washing machine on too much of a high heat. The cardigan felted, and then because of that, when I was trying it on, it was just a bit too tight, and I think the material had gone a bit funny because it had been felted, and I just basically have a massive hole in the armpit of my favourite cardigan. And so basically what I'm going to do is knit myself a new one, and I'm going to knit it better than this one, and I'm very excited because I have bought some very exciting yarn to knit myself a new cardigan. Now, when I started off thinking about what cardigan I was going to knit, I wanted to try and find a pattern that was as close as possible to this. So this is a crew neck cardigan. It has pockets and it's quite slim lined. It's quite like slim to the body, and it was always a tiny bit too small for me. I mean, now you can see how like tight it is on the arms. It is like quite a tight fitting, but obviously it's not supposed to be this tight fitting, and it just has very plain details, like nothing crazy, nothing too much on the sleeves or anything. So I had this idea in the back of my mind of recreating this cardigan, and then my husband had the idea of taking the buttons off the original cardigan, so that's what I'm going to do. So I was searching for a pattern that would make sense, and first of all I came across the Copenhagen cardigan by Petite Knit, which looks very, very similar to this cardigan. It has the pockets, it has everything. So I was very excited. I then was like, okay, what yarn am I going to get? And then I came across the Cardiff Cashmere Classic. It's in the colour Attico. And this colour, when I saw it, well, I only saw it online, so I wasn't like 100% sure, but then when it arrived, I was like, this is literally the closest match I think I could have possibly found. Like, it's almost exactly the same. And I know this is quite an indulgence, but I was just so sad about my cardigan that that's how I managed to justify it to myself. And I just think people spend that amount of money on clothes probably quite regularly, and since I've been knitting I've barely spent any money on clothes, so that was my justification for buying this yarn, and it is so soft, it is so beautiful. But the problem is, when I looked on Ravelry, it said that this was a DK weight, so I was like, oh great, that will be perfect for the Copenhagen cardigan. So I just bought it thinking that I could do that. I did a swatch with the needles, and it is like, I don't know if it's really showing up on camera, but it is the gappiest swatch ever. Like, I can literally see the camera through this swatch. It is way too gappy, and I just realised that this was basically the wrong weight of yarn. Like, it just wasn't right. So then I was like, well, should I try holding it with a strand of mohair? I had some Drops Kid Silk hanging around that for another project that I've kind of abandoned, so I knitted a swatch with that, but it really just ruined the softness. Like, the reason I'm spending all this money on this cashmere yarn is to get a really, really soft end product, and when I spent like so long just feeling these two, and it just takes away that softness that you get from the cashmere. And it's just, I mean, it's not super itchy. I would still say it's, if you hadn't felt this, you would think this was soft, but when you feel this, it's just not right. So I was like, okay, I need to go back to the drawing board, and I need to find a new pattern, because I didn't really want to do, even though the Copenhagen pattern was perfect, I didn't want to do the maths to turn a DK weight pattern into a sport weight pattern, which is what I've now realised. The Cardiff Cashmere Classic is sport weight, not a DK weight. But then, thank God for Petite Knit having so many patterns available. She has a cardigan that is a sport weight pattern, and the suggested yarn that she uses is Cardiff Cashmere Classic, and that is the Maggie Cardigan. So that is now what I am doing. I'm doing the Maggie Cardigan, and it is also, you know, it's a crew neck cardigan as well. It's not, some of the elements aren't quite as similar, like the ribbing is quite chunky on the body, so I think I'm gonna just do the ribbing a lot shorter, and hopefully that will kind of make it feel similar enough. And then I might also add pockets if I have enough yarn, potentially. So I've started knitting this, and I'm so happy that I decided to just leave out the mohair, because this is the softest thing I've ever felt. So I've started on the back, and I'm just on the second shoulder, and I've knitted like a tiny little patch for the shoulder. It's all looking quite small at the moment, but I was looking at the photos and I think this is just like a very small part of the neck, and then it just grows from there. And I'm loving the design already. This is done with the increases here, and then you pick up here, and it just makes this really pretty line detail. I feel like this is going to get knitted up so quickly because I'm just addicted to feeling this cashmere in my hand. It is so nice. So that is it for now. I'm going to my knit club tomorrow morning, so I'm going to take this there, and we'll see how much I get done. I recently discovered dental floss as a way of holding stitches, and it's so good because previously I was just using my interchangeable needle cables, and then I would just run out of interchangeable cables, and because I have so many projects going on at the moment, I'm just using dental floss the whole time, and it's great. It's sometimes a bit annoying to put the stitches back on, but it's not too bad, depends on the type of yarn that you're using, and it sometimes makes your knitting smell like mint, but apart from that, it's quite good. I have just got to the point where I have finished the yoke and I have split for the sleeve, so I've just tried this on. I have honestly been feeling a bit ill this week. There's something about knitting, especially in this lovely fabric, that even if I'm just feeling quite unwell or anxious or stressed, it just really has been relaxing me. So I've just been loving working on this week when I've been a bit stressed and not feeling my best. But anyway, who could be stressed when you have a shoulder seam that looks like that? It's such a clever design, and just the fact that you can make something with all these different directions and it just sits so nicely on the shoulder and you don't have to seam anything together. This is all just done with increases. There's a little bit where you have to pick up, but apart from that, it's all just increases. And now I'm just at the point where I am just basically knitting down. I think it's going to take me quite a while because this is sport weight yarn and it's 3.5 millimeter, 3.5 millimeter needles, and so it's not the quickest, but the fabric it's creating is so beautiful that I think I will be happy to keep knitting on this for a long time because it's just such an enjoyable process. This one isn't just about the final product. I'm really enjoying the process. Hello again. It is like 5 months later. It's now November. It is dark, hence the weird lighting, and I have been picking this project back up again lately. I was working on it off and on for quite a long time. The body just took so long, and then I just sort of forgot that I was making this vlog. But anyway, we're back. So since last recording, I've made quite a few different changes to this that I'm really excited about. So I have now completed the body. I have bound off the body, and look at this bind off I have done, not ribbing, because I wanted to copy the cardigan very closely, and the original cardigan doesn't have any ribbing. It has this kind of folded over stockinette band, and in order to do that, I basically had to go completely off the pattern and I just had to make something up. So I actually have this other pattern that I want to knit soon called the Super Basic Tee by Oh What a Knit, and in that pattern she has the hem is like this. Obviously that pattern is a slightly different gauge, so I had to slightly tweak the numbers. And then also that bind off that Oh What a Knit does, she sews it down once she's finished, but I didn't want to do that. And then I remembered that when I did the Lakes pullover, the neckband of that was a double folded neckband that you kind of bind off as you go, but it's a stretchy bind off. So I've kind of combined techniques from two different patterns to create this lovely stretchy hem. I thought that it kind of was folding over, and when I first did it I was a bit worried that I'd kind of just messed up and I would have to undo it, but I wet blocked it. I sort of sprayed the edge and sort of pinned it down. I didn't block the whole thing, but I just pinned the edge, and then the next morning it was so nice and flat, and it's got this little pearl bump along here which just makes it just look so nice and neat, and I'm just so happy with how this is looking. Sorry for the lighting, but yeah, look at that. It is so beautiful. I'm so happy with it, and it is exactly the length of the cardigan that I'm copying. I have now also learnt how to do a double knit button band. This is another thing that I'm modifying in this pattern. So I realised that because I'm going to have this cardigan buttoned up most of the time, and because it is quite a tight fitting cardigan, I want quite a solid button band that is not going to stretch over time. And I feel like ribbed button bands do stretch, and I have a ribbed button band in a shop bought cardigan, and it just stretches, and I just don't want that. So I wanted something that was a bit more reinforcing. I found an amazing tutorial of how to knit a double knit button band without having to cut yarn and stuff. It's just really straightforward. I definitely had to try this a few different times because I'm not following a pattern. I didn't realise that you're supposed to go down quite a few different needle sizes when you do your double knit button band. So at first I was just trying to do it in the same needle size that I had for the body, and that was not looking good. It was really wide and gappy, and yeah, it just didn't look good. So I eventually realized that I needed to go down 2 needle sizes, so I'm doing this on 2.5mm needles, and that is looking a lot neater and nicer. I'm so happy with how it's looking. Like, just the combo of that hem and that button band, I'm just absolutely obsessed. So this has given me the motivation to pick this back up and get going with it. The button band is taking quite a long time. I've nearly finished it. And then I have to do the button band on the other side. Then I need to do the neck band, and then I need to finish the sleeve. I think I'm gonna bind off the sleeve in the same way that I bound off the hem. So I'm quite excited to give that a go. And then I need to pick up and do the whole other sleeve. But yeah, I'm loving how it is looking at the moment. It's not quite, you can't quite see because I'm still in the middle of finishing this button band. You get the idea. We're getting there, we're getting there. I've just finished the button band, finally. Yeah, this has been preying on my mind for literally months now, so thank goodness I have finished it. And please remind me to never ever knit a button band on 2.5mm needles ever again. The difference between the blocked and the unblocked side is actually crazy. It's kind of interesting to see, like, and I've only just very lightly sort of wet, I like sprayed water on this to block it, but it's kind of crazy the difference in the two sides. So I think I kind of need to block the whole thing now, because now it's like wonky. One side is blocked and one hasn't. Before I do the neckband, just in case it makes any difference to how the whole thing fits. So I'm going to block this overnight, and hopefully that will make them the same, because otherwise we've got some very wonky button bands. And also I finished the sleeve the other day. I don't think I even filmed that, but basically now all I have to do is one sleeve and the neckband, and we're done. I have finally finished knitting my Maggie cardigan. I can't believe it took me so long. I have been knitting this since May, and it is now January. This has been a project that has spanned multiple years, but I'm so happy to have it finally finished. My initial thoughts now that I'm putting it on are, I think it might be a bit small. I wanted it to fit me quite tightly. but I'm wondering if it is too tight. But I haven't blocked it yet, so I'm hoping that maybe once I block it, it will loosen up quite a bit, because I think cashmere does loosen up quite a bit in blocking. But I'm really happy with the colour. It's really, really soft and I like how it's looking. I'm just not sure if it is just a tiny bit too small. So I'm going to block it and then put buttons on it and then see how I feel about it. It has blocked out really nicely. It is so soft. I didn't think this yarn could get any softer, but it honestly feels even softer, and I just don't want to take this off. It feels like such a hug. And yeah, in terms of the size, I feel like the blocking has definitely loosened it up a bit. I don't feel like I'm having to go like this to kind of hold it shut. So I'm very intrigued to see how it's going to look once I've got the buttons on. I think I just can't really tell what the final result is going to be until I have the buttons on, and whether it's going to button up with a nice straight button band. I get very annoyed when button bands go like gaping open. That is one of the reasons why I put more buttons. I've actually added more buttonholes to this than the original pattern, because I wanted to make sure that, you know, there was enough support of the button band, because I knew it was going to be quite a tight cardigan, which is what I wanted. There's a fine line between fitting and too tight, so I want to make sure that I strike the right balance. And yeah, I think the only way to figure that out is to go and put some buttons on. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'll come back to you and give you the final result. Okay, it is the moment of truth. I am buttoning my Maggie cardigan. I'm slightly concerned that it is too small and that the button band is gonna pull. So this is kind of stressful. The buttons do fit through the buttonholes, so that's good. That is also something I was concerned about. I think maybe we are okay. Oh my god. Yay! Okay, so the top one is maybe a tiny bit wonky, but apart from that, there is no like major pulling. It is going quite flat down. Maybe just a tiny little bit here, but overall I'm so happy with how this is fitting. I just know that I'm going to wear this so much because I just can't take this off. It's just so soft. Like, how could I ever not wear this? I'm happy with all the modifications that I made. It looks very close to my cardigan. I do eventually want to add pockets, but I just don't have the energy right now. I think someone sat on my ball of yarn. The yarn that I have left to knit the pockets has now become this, so I am probably going to leave that for a while because I don't want to unravel that right now, and I don't even know if that's enough yarn left to make pockets. But I'm going to cool this one down because I want to move on to some other things that I have going on. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!